Good afternoon and welcome to this week's vlog. I hope you've had a great weekend. We had an extremely busy week last week and I'm sure we're going to have another busy week ahead as we continue to try and consolidate all our senior pupils' learning after Assessment Window 1 and preparing for Assessment Window 2 and continuing to ensure our first to third year pupils are settling in back to school after the full return on the 19th of April. So in this week's vlog you will hear a little bit about our assessment windows, the closure of Assessment Window 1 and planning for Assessment Window 2. You'll hear about the senior option process that was completed at the end of last week. A little bit about how to return all the devices that were issued during lockdown. We'll give you that information. A little bit of information regarding the additional in-service days that the Scottish Government have issued for staff to be working on moderation activities. Some information about our Primary 7 transition, our standardised assessments, and finally this week is election week. So you'll hear a little bit about what we're doing in Dunoon Grammar School to encourage our young people to take part in election if they're 16 and what we're doing in the school to promote elections and politics.
Hi, Mr. Gallagher here. I hope you guys are well. So that's Assessment Window 1 closed. It was an opportunity for our young people to produce some evidence that can be used to determine their provisional results as part of this year's alternative certification model. I've spoken to a number of young people and indeed staff on the back of that first assessment window, and I've been so impressed with the resilience and maturity that they've brought to this first window of assessments. So it seems to have been a largely positive experience for our young people, and they certainly see the value of the opportunity for them to demonstrate that evidence. Window 2 will open for S4 on the 13th of May and the following Monday for S5 and S6, which is the 17th of May. And that'll be a further opportunity for our young people to demonstrate their attainment within controlled conditions that can then be used as the evidence base to determine the results, the provisional results for this academic year. Now, our young people may still be doing assessments in between the two windows, and that's particularly the case for practical subjects that may need a bit of extended time to evaluate skills or different environments for that to happen. For example, performance in drama or in music or in PE or coding and computing. So that's the type of assessments that may continue. Some other departments might decide to have additional written assessments just to supplement the evidence base that they have to then base the judgments on. I'd like to thank all the staff in the school who have worked extremely hard since coming back after the Easter holidays to arrange these assessments, and they're now working hard. The teaching staff are working hard to mark and quality assure those assessments to make sure that they're consistent and they're fair. Teaching staff will feed back to the young people results directly and also feedback on how they can improve for Window 2. Now, we gave some young people an opportunity to show that they could meet a particular level during this first window. If any of those young people have fallen short, then departments will be in touch with parents, carers just to discuss that and to have an alternative plan for them to make sure that they get some sort of certification where it's appropriate this academic year. We're in the process of scheduling Assessment Window 2. Departments are feeding back to us with their requirements for that second assessment window, and once we've collated that and scheduled it, we will publish it in due course. But you know when the windows will open in the period, so please plan accordingly and prepare accordingly for that. We're also looking to collate our young people's current level of performance to share with parents, carers and indeed the young people, and we're hoping to issue that as a tracking report the end of this week, the beginning of next week, and that will include feedback on your child's effort, behaviour and homework in each of the subjects, and also current working, a holistic working grade where they're at within that subject, and an aspirational target grade where we think they can get to once they've completed Assessment Window 2 and any other assessments that they're working on just now, for example those practical subjects that I mentioned earlier. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with your child's subject teacher or head of department if you've got any queries at all, subject related, or their head of house if there's any additional support you think your child requires during the second assessment window. So thank you all again for your efforts, and I'm sure you'll continue to apply yourself fully and produce really valuable evidence in that second window. Senior options interviews took place last week. A huge thank you to our heads of house who scheduled and hosted those interviews with our young people, and many parents carers attended those interviews live via Google Meet. Also a huge thank you to our SDS careers advisors who were also on standby and participated in many of those discussions also. So thank you to everyone who took part. The information that we gathered from each of those individual interviews will now be collated and will be used to produce a timetable for next academic year. You'll be aware that we plan to change the timetable on June the 7th. Some of the courses, particularly the remote learning opportunities as part of the Northern Alliance COCO project or the Argyll College networked opportunities, were dependent on sufficient numbers choosing and availability if there was high demand. So we'd ask the young people to consider a backup, and we'll be in touch with any young person where that has to be activated. But hopefully we'll be able to accommodate most first requests. Just one final point on the senior options. If any of our young people have applied for the Foundation Apprenticeship in Social Services, Children and Young People offered by Argyll and Bute Council, can I ask you to return your application form to Sharon by Monday, tomorrow, if you've not already done so. It's extremely important you get that to Sharon. The email has been supplied to you by the head of house, as has the application form. So please make sure you respond to that and make it a priority this evening, and make sure that you get it to Sharon at Argyll and Bute Council by tomorrow at the very latest.
We're asking all our young people that received a device during lockdown so that they could do their online learning to return these devices to school now. On a Monday to Wednesday, young people can bring their device back at break time and lunch time, and the technicians will be available in the school forum for them to be dropped off. And on a Thursday and a Friday, the technicians will be available at house time for the devices to be dropped off. Now, we left the devices at home just until the senior assessment window was completed, but we do now need them back to school so that they can be utilised in classrooms to support learning. So please bring them back. If you don't bring it back, we will be in contact by the end of next week to ensure that we get them back in the building. As I said in the introduction, the Scottish Government have released and allocated 2 additional in-service days for secondary school staff to work on moderation as part of the alternative certification model. These dates are Monday the 10th of May, that's the first day. The second day will take place on Thursday the 27th of May, and then we have the planned in-service day on Friday the 28th of May, and then we're in holiday on the 31st of May. So we'll get more information out to you nearer the time. However, it is our intention, hopefully, to be able to provide our young people with some online inputs in there for our senior young people. And again, more information will come to you nearer the time, but we will hopefully be able to deliver some online sessions during those days.
So first, an update on transition. Myself and Mrs Helen Campbell, one of our heads of house, otherwise known as a principal teacher of guidance, we ran parental information evening sessions online on Google Meet all of last week for our P7s and their parents' carers. The theme of the presentations shown on each night was with regard to support. So we ran through all the different roles that relate to support in Dunoon Grammar School, the partners who support us, and what I will be doing is I will be posting those presentations onto the Google Classroom before Monday, so that anyone who missed the evenings would be able to see those presentations via their young person's Google Classroom. So that's what's been running this week. What I had said to you parents and carers in my update to them was that we are hopeful that a physical transition will take place in June. I remain hopeful, certainly, anyway. and we are just waiting for some confirmations from the local authority with regard to that happening. If it can happen, we are planning a 3-day programme where young people will visit the grammar school. They will have a bespoke first day, and then they will follow their actual S1 timetable for the following 2 days after that. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that as restrictions continue to ease, and with all the guidelines that we have in place at the grammar school to keep everybody safe, that a physical transition could potentially take place. And obviously, as soon as I know what's happening, I will update you all. There will be a further transition newsletter coming out shortly, just with regards to all these updates for anybody who's not on social media. And the P7 parental closed Facebook page continues to be updated as well, so please do check that from time to time. Myself, Mr Mitchell and Mrs Campbell, Helen Campbell, because there's lots of Campbells up at the grammar school, we are going to be virtually visiting our P7s again over the next few weeks, so we'll be making arrangements for that this week coming. So please, P7s, think of any difficult questions that you're able to ask Mr Mitchell about what it's like to be in the hot seat of Dunoon Grammar School. And just to say that we have, Mrs Campbell, Mrs Helen Campbell, has done a power of work over the Easter holidays to provisionally set the new classes as well. So final checks are being made with primary 7 teachers again over the next couple of weeks, and then as soon as we are able to, the first thing we will share with young people is the house they've been placed in, and then we'll look at how we can share class information after that. I think that's it in terms of primary 7 transition. One more thing. For young people who have been identified as maybe particularly anxious, above and beyond the normal nerves around, coming up to the grammar school, making the move from primary to secondary, they have been identified by the primaries. They will be included within our Vanguard group, so they will receive additional visits up to the grammar school, as well as any young people who again will struggle to make the move but maybe are not able to communicate so and are maybe showcasing that in a slightly different way. They're an enhanced group, and likewise Mr Shearer will be organising those visits. So progress has been made. A lot of progress is taking place this session with transition. We are just hoping that a physical transition can take place. We've only got one last parental information evening to have, and we also are hopeful and remaining hopeful that that will also take place in person, so fingers crossed. My final update is with regard to the S3 Scottish National Standardised Assessments, otherwise known as SNSAs. I mentioned these in last week's update. It is just to say that we are now in a position where we are going to be starting to assess young people. I aim to get a letter out at the very, very, very start of this week on Monday, and most likely that letter will come out via email. I'll try to get paper copies out via pupil mail. However, they consist of 3 standardised assessments, one in numeracy, one in reading and one in writing, and they normally take place every year, but last year, as I said, as a result of school closures, they were cancelled. So they consist of a 50-minute assessment, and all young people in S3 will be undergoing these assessments over the forthcoming weeks, and they will be taking the assessments during their maths and their English periods, so they will not be withdrawn from any other subject area in order to complete them. So they will start this week, with numeracy kicking us off on Tuesday. In the meantime, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the weekend, and I will catch up with you all next week. Take care, bye bye.
I'm sure you'll all be aware that this week is election week, a big week for Scotland's future, and in Dunoon Grammar School we take that future very seriously, and we've been educating our young people on the election process. So we've been joined today by Mrs O'Neill, one of our modern studies teachers, and 3 of our young people who have been working on the election unit. So, Miss O'Neill, could you tell us a little bit about what's been going on in modern studies?
Yes, so our S3 Modern Studies class have been really busy preparing materials for our mock election and learning about how important it is to vote. So I'll pass over to Ailey, who'll tell you a bit more about what we've been doing.
In class we've been learning how to vote in the Scottish election, and also we've been researching all of the parties and people that are campaigning.
Voting is very important because it means we have the chance to choose the people who make laws on our behalf.
Nanya?
Voting gives us the chance to give our opinion on important issues like education, crime and health.
Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure you use your vote on the 6th of May, and a lot of our young people, it will be their first time that will have the opportunity to vote. So good luck everyone, and good luck to all the parties, and again thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in this week. I hope you enjoyed hearing it and I've got all the information you require. Please remember to bring your devices back next week, or we'll be sending the janitors round to collect them. I'm only joking, but please do remember to bring them back, so that allows us to use them in class to support the learning. Have a great week and work hard.